If you want a short-term rental in one of the World Cup host cities, or you're thinking about buying one, the 2026 tournament could be one of the biggest revenue opportunities you'll ever see. But whether you make the most of it or miss it entirely will depend on what you do right now. I'm Kenji Asakura. I'm a physician and a real estate investor, and I've owned and operated furnished rentals for nearly 20 years. And my wife and I own a short-term rental in one of the 2026 host cities. In this video, I'll break down what makes this World Cup different from anything we've seen before, what short-term rental owners need to know to take advantage of the surge in demand that most people are expecting. And I'll also cover the steps you need to take now so you can avoid the mistakes that could cost you thousands in missed bookings. Stick with me to the end because I'll also walk you through the things we're focusing on with our own short-term rental so you can set up yours for success. This isn't just another World Cup. This is the biggest World Cup tournament ever held. For the first time ever, FIFA, the governing body for the World Cup, expanded the tournament from 32 to 48 teams. And that means more matches, more fans from all over the world, and a longer schedule. And those games are spread across 11 cities in the US, with multiple matches in each location over 6 weeks in June and July of 2026. The closest comparison I can think of is the Super Bowl. But unlike the Super Bowl, this is like having a Super Bowl every few days for more than a month. And all this means the demand for short-term rentals will surge a lot for a long period of time. In a minute, we'll zoom in on Dallas so you can see just how big the gap is between the demand and the number of hotel rooms, and why short-term rental owners who prepare now will be in the strongest position to get bookings at premium prices. So let's use Dallas, where we own and operate a short-term rental, as an example. AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas is set to host 9 matches, including a semifinal. The stadium is expected to hold around 90,000 fans per match. Now let's look at the hotel capacity. Within a 10-mile radius of AT&T Stadium, there are only about 12 to 15,000 hotel rooms. Now, if you expand that to a 20-mile radius, including downtown Dallas, Fort Worth, and the DFW airport area, that rises to roughly 70 to 85,000 rooms. Now, on top of the fans, layer in everything else who needs a place to stay. All the support staff for the teams, then there's the media, as well as the sponsors and organizers of the event. And remember that many of those hotel rooms are already booked for other reasons. DFW hotels usually have about a 60 to 65% occupancy at baseline. So it's pretty clear that there won't be enough hotel rooms to support both your usual hotel guests and World Cup guests. And even if there were enough rooms, we know that a lot of travelers prefer short-term rentals. For families or groups, short-term rentals give you more space, more privacy, a kitchen, and often better value. And during the summer, amenities like a pool can make a huge difference. Now, before you start dreaming about money rolling in, you're gonna really wanna pay attention to this next part, because it can make the difference between getting a huge revenue boost in 2026 or your property sitting empty during the World Cup. So yes, demand is coming, but, and this is the key, just because there's demand doesn't mean your short-term rental will automatically book out. Let's talk about why. The biggest wild card is supply, especially how much new supply gets added before the tournament. We saw a preview of this during Super Bowl 57 in Phoenix. Demand went up more than 30% year over year, but new listings exploded with over 2,600 additional short-term rentals hitting the market leading up to the game. So what happened? Occupancy dropped by more than 15%. According to AirDNA and Airbnb analytics, short-term rental occupancy fell into the 50 to 64% range. Average daily rates did go up by about 47% year over year, but that gain was not spread evenly. Some owners did incredibly well. Others sat empty during the event. We personally know hosts in Phoenix who had their calendars wide open for what they thought would be the best weekend of the year, and they didn't get the bookings they expected. The lesson's simple. Don't get caught flat-footed. You cannot set it and forget it for an event like this. You have to plan for both the surge in demand and the surge in supply. Now let's look at how this plays out in unregulated versus regulated markets, because your strategy depends heavily on where your short-term rental is located. Let's start with less regulated short-term rental markets like Dallas, Atlanta, Houston, and Miami. These are cities where there aren't many rules are unclear, or not strictly enforced. Many people can list a property with relatively few barriers. In practice, that means anyone with a property can jump in, and many will, including existing hosts and regular homeowners who want to cash in on the World Cup. For short-term rental operators, that means new competition, and a lot of it. In Dallas, for example, courts have blocked recent short-term rental restrictions, so short-term rentals are still allowed in many neighborhoods, at least for now. The upside, you can operate freely without the threat of regulations, but that freedom comes with a trade-off. The market can get crowded quickly with a flood of supply. So in Dallas, some are predicting a relatively flat occupancy rate between 50 and 60% and only a modest increase in average nightly rate of 40 to 65%. That can still be a really nice boost in revenue, but it's not guaranteed, especially if your property looks like every other listing, which is why you can't just be another listing on Airbnb. You have to stand out. We'll talk about how to do that in a moment. Now let's look at highly regulated cities where short-term rental supply is capped or heavily restricted. These include Boston, Philadelphia, New York, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle. In these markets, short-term rentals are either limited to primary residences, capped at a certain number of nights, or restricted to very specific zones with strict permitting. So what happens then? Supply stays tight, and hosts who qualify often gain significant pricing power. We saw a version of this in New Orleans during Super Bowl 59. The city has some of the toughest short-term rental rules in the country. They only allow one rental per square block in residential areas. There's a total ban of short-term rentals in the French Quarter, one of the most popular places to stay in the city. With supply held in check, occupancy hit around 91% leading into the Super Bowl. Average nightly rates climbed up to around $1,200 in the city center. That's the upside of operating in a tightly regulated market. Fewer competitors, more demand per listing, stronger pricing power. The trade-off? You have to qualify, stay compliant, play by the rules. But whether you're in a lightly regulated or highly regulated city, one thing is always true. The listings that are best prepared will win. So whether your short-term rental is in a market with loose rules and a lot of new supply coming, or a market with tight rules and limited supply, if you want to command the highest rates, you need to start prepping now. Here's why timing matters. Listings that do the best are the ones that look great, feel professional, and check all the boxes guests care about. Some of that is obvious. Beautiful photos, a clean, well-designed space, a 5-star guest experience. But during an international event like the World Cup, small details may matter even more. Here are a few examples to help you get started. Add universal power adapters to each bedroom, especially for international guests. Create a bilingual welcome guide. At a minimum, English and Spanish. Offer local recommendations, especially international friendly spots like grocery stores, pharmacies, and restaurants. If you're in a city like Dallas where it gets really hot in the summer, homes with pools will probably be in high demand. If your home doesn't have one, some are suggesting adding something like a stock tank pool to help your listing stand out. The better your space looks, the more amenities you have, the more likely it is to show up in search and command premium rates. During an event like the World Cup, guests are willing to pay a premium, but they're also more selective. So the question isn't, will there be demand? The real question is, will your short-term rental be one of the obvious, no-brainer options when people are booking? The 2026 World Cup is going to bring millions of visitors, billions of dollars, and a massive spotlight to every host city. If you already own a short-term rental in one of these cities, or you're thinking about buying one, this could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But it's not going to happen automatically. You'll need the right prep, the right strategy, and the right execution to make the most of it. If you want to learn more about how to get ready, whether you're fine-tuning your pricing, optimizing your space, or looking to expand, we're here to help. Book a free strategy call with our team. We specialize in teaching high-income earners how to invest in real estate, including short-term rentals. And we teach you how to do it the right way. So you're not just making great income, you're also learning how to shelter it from taxes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.